So we received a request from one of our viewers asking us to talk a little bit about emotional or verbal abuse in relationships. So I'm going to attempt to talk a little bit about that today, trying to put it in Buddhist perspective. This is a huge, vast subject with many levels of intensity, and it's quite prevalent in this society, especially in the US. There's a few statistics. One in every 4 women will experience abuse in her lifetime. That's a lot. 62% of children aged 11 to 14 who have been in a relationship say they know friends who have been verbally abused, called stupid, worthless, ugly by a boyfriend or girlfriend. 62%. That's huge. Only half of all kids between the age of 11 and 14 claim to know the warning signs of a bad or hurtful relationship. So there's not a whole lot of education out there either. 1 in 3 teenagers report knowing a friend or peer who has been hit, punched, kicked, slapped, strangled, or physically hurt by their partner. Nearly 1 in 5 teenage girls who have been in a relationship said a boyfriend had threatened violence or self-harm if presented with a breakup. 13% of teenage girls who said they have been in a relationship report being physically hurt or hit. And more than 1 in 4 teenage girls in a relationship report enduring repeated verbal abuse. So what that tells me is that not only is it very endemic in this country, but also abuse is a condition. It's learned. So it's a familial pattern that goes on and on. And so emotional or verbal or physical abuse is defined as a pattern of behavior in any relationship that is used to gain or maintain power or control over another. And it can happen to any man or woman, any age, any socio-economic group, no matter what education you have. It has no specific group. It can touch all people. I think the most important step in this process for a person, if they find themselves in an abusive relationship, is to actually recognize that they are in an abusive relationship. That really is the hardest part. And if we kind of think of it in terms of kind of how the mind works, and maybe put some Buddhist thought to this a little bit, if I am in a relationship and it isn't, it's painful, if I keep focusing externally on what the other person is doing, I stay very stuck in that relationship. I keep just focusing on what the other is doing or not doing. And so if a person keeps their focus on the other, then it's very hard to move out of that circumstance. If we use some of the Buddhist teachings where we train ourselves to turn the mirror toward ourselves and look at our circumstance, then there is some chance for some movement and some change. But we have to be very careful when we turn that mirror on ourselves, because if we have come from abuse and abusive relationships, then the way that we look at ourselves often is also very abusive, very harsh. So then we turn the mirror toward ourselves, and then we blame ourselves for the circumstance that we are in, and that it's our fault. So this step of recognizing that we're in an abusive situation and looking at our own circumstance, looking at our internal world, it is imperative, it is most important that we look at that with a big amount of great compassion toward ourselves. Otherwise, we just dig ourselves in even deeper, I think. So here's just some points about how to identify if you're in an abusive relationship. So you may be in an emotionally abusive relationship if your partner calls you names, insults you, or continually criticizes you, does not trust you, and acts jealous or possessive, tries to isolate you from family or friends. And this one often is quite subtle. It isn't, blatantly said, you can't visit your family or friends anymore. It's when you say you're going to go do an activity with them, it gets turned into something else. Oh, don't do that. Let's go here instead. So it's quite subtle how that works. Your partner may monitor where you go, who you call, and who you spend time with. Often does not want you to work, controls the finances or refuses to share money, punishes you by withholding affection, expects you to ask permission, threatens to hurt you, the children, your family, or your pets, or humiliates you in any way. So that's kind of the external form that abuse takes. Thinking about it in terms of internally, how we think, how we feel about our circumstance. If you feel afraid of your partner, if you avoid certain topics out of fear of angering your partner, if you feel that you can't do anything right for your partner, if you believe that you deserve to be hurt or mistreated, if you wonder if you're the one who is crazy, or feel emotionally numb or helpless, these are signs that you could be in an abusive relationship. And so this emotional abuse, it chips away our feelings of self-worth and independence. And often one feels that there is no way out of the relationship, again, because of that external focus. I can't do anything different because they keep doing the same thing. Or also, oftentimes one feels that without that partner, you will have nothing, even if it's an abusive partner. So how do we step out of this? How do we start working with this? Again, we use the Dharma to help ourselves. We take responsibility for changing our situation. And that's not so easy to do because we've been so conditioned. So we start training our mind to think a different way. So we start training our mind to think that we cannot change the other. We cannot change the other. And we start concentrating on changing our own situation and our own mindset. And so to do that, we have to become aware of how we think, what our mindset is. So we have to start paying attention to our own self-talk. How we think about ourselves when we go through our day and do things. So we have to start catching that internal chatter. So if I do something as simple as, dropping a spoon on the floor, and I hear my mind say stupid, or clumsy, idiot, whatever it is, then that's the kind of mindset that is totally keeps us locked in the place we're in. We have to start changing that. We have to start challenging that kind of self-talk. It's quite damaging, and it is not accurate at all. It's not accurate. It is not helpful. So if we start chipping away at that and start changing that kind of self-talk, and at first it is, I notice that I've said, oh, stupid, there you go again, maybe, something like that. Then I say instead, no, wait a minute. I had a pretty good intention, and I'm still learning, it's okay. So we soften it, we start working with it, we start changing the tone of it. This takes some time. This is not a simple process. It takes energy and time. And to do it, we have to focus on us, not on the other. So to do this alone, quite difficult. So the most important thing is to get some help, get some support. Can't do this alone easily at all. So we get some help, and there's tons of help available. And at the end of this video, I'll put some resources where you can go online and get some help. Tons of help out there. And what you'll discover when you get some help is that A, you're not alone. Many, many people go through this. Many, many people know how to get out of this. And then the second thing is that you'll learn that this situation is not your fault. It's not your fault. No one should ever live in fear of another person. Ever. And we all deserve to feel valued and respected and safe. But we actually have to cultivate that from the inside. We can't rely on what others say about us to become strong and clear in our minds. We have to build that from the inside. And as we build that from the inside, then we can change any circumstance we're in. There's nothing that we need to be stuck in then. So this is just a little teeny taste of this very vast subject. And if you think that you might be in an abusive relationship on any level, get some help. Get some help. Start talking to somebody about it.